Hello, hello. Happy Saturday, everyone. It is so cold and windy here today. So I just want to get on here real quick and share with you some thoughts I've been having. And I'm kind of curious if it's just me or if you guys can kind of follow along with my logic and how my brain is coming up with this thing. Sometimes I think my brain's a little weird. I don't know if anybody else feels like that. But anyway, so it is December. We're wrapping up 2022, and I think this is a time of year when we kind of reflect on what we've done over the year, or I think probably more likely is that we're all focusing on the things we didn't do, right? So it's always, oh, I'm going to do these things, and the end of the year comes, and it's like, oh, I didn't do this or that or whatever it is that you promised to yourself you were going to do. So I kind of feel like, so it's December 3rd today. We're getting into the end of the year. We're getting into, I feel like let's kind of give up on the things that we wanted to do this year. In 2023, we can start fresh. We can do something new. So I started thinking the stuff that I want to share with you today. I want to share with you some thoughts. And as I was creating the module for the Your Artistic Journey course, there's a module I'm adding in about 30-day challenges. And I started thinking, so I've never really liked the wording of challenge. So like the weekly challenges that are posted in here every Monday, I've always not really loved that word challenge for some reason. I didn't really understand why. So bear with me for a minute here, and I think you'll be able to follow my train of thought. So I'm doing this module for the course for a 30-day challenge. And it's something I've done in the past, and what I've used previously was a grid with 30 little squares on it. And then the idea is you can do random drawings, you can pick a theme, whatever. And the squares aren't very big. I want to say they're maybe like 1.5 inches or 2 inches, because 30 of them have to fit on a piece of paper. And I was going through some of the material I've used in the past and just kind of doing a little bit of research to put this module together. And I was thinking, a lot of times what we do, and typically it's January, right? January comes along and I'm going to do this challenge and I'm going to do that challenge and whatever it may be. And I think what happens, and there's statistics and I couldn't tell you exactly what they are, but like the percentage of people who follow through on a New Year's resolution, like more than a week or a couple days or 2 weeks or something, is like, it's a really, really low percentage of people who actually follow through with it. And I was kind of thinking about that a little bit, but I was really, for whatever reason, I kept getting hung up on the word challenge. So then I started thinking about it, and I've kind of been on this thing lately where I make daily commitments to myself. So it's been whatever I've really been struggling with. So just as an example, I try to drink green smoothies a few days a week. And I was doing it really good. I was being really consistent at it, and I kind of got out of the habit. So I've made these commitments to myself that I want to start by drinking, just say 2 green smoothies a week, or 3 or 4, or whatever that number is at whatever stage I'm in. So I've been making these commitments to myself that, okay, I'm going to commit to myself that I want to drink two green smoothies for the week. Then I'll pick a day and say, today's the day, today I'm going to do it. So I'll make sure I have it made either the night before or I make it in the morning before I go to work so that I can set myself up for success. So I was thinking about the difference between the word commitment and the word challenge. And I think the reason I really get hung up on the word challenge is because what I've done in the past, and it created failure for me, is that I say, okay, so let's use an example of somebody who wants to get back into painting or who wants to start painting. So just say this person has been wanting to do either more painting or get back into painting, and they say, okay, I want to start painting more. So this person in this example, just say if they haven't painted for 6 months and they want to get back into it again. So if they say, okay, I'm going to do a challenge. I'm going to challenge myself to do a painting a week. Well, it's kind of like going from 0 to 100 like overnight. If you haven't painted for 6 months and then you say, well, I'm going to do a painting a week, that might be too much. So I think when people like, okay, they see a challenge and it sticks out to them like, oh, I've been wanting to do that. I'm going to participate in this challenge. And I wish I knew what the statistics were. I'm sorry. I probably should have looked them up. But I know the statistics are really low for people who actually follow through on these challenges, or usually like a New Year's resolution is along the lines of a challenge. So what I started thinking about is the difference between using the word challenge and using the word commitment. So to me, a challenge is something where you're trying to push yourself to do something that's maybe a little more beyond your reach. So I feel like if you're trying to get back into something, or if you want to start something new, I feel like getting involved in a challenge or setting yourself up on your own challenge, it's almost like you're just automatically setting yourself up for that failure, because it's like I said, it's like going from 0 to 100. And let me know what you guys think if you are following where my brain's at on this. But I feel like we need to be careful. One thing, you need to think about your goals. What is the actual goal? And then be careful about the wording, because even though it seems insignificant, I think the wording and how we choose to phrase things is more important than we realize. And a recent example I can give you, and this isn't at all art related, but I was reading a book, and I don't remember which one it is. I read quite a few books. And they were talking about the difference between saying I don't do something and I can't do something. So in my personal life, this is my example, is that I do intermittent fasting. And I only eat between the hours of 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. So a lot of times at work, somebody will bring in donuts and they'll come over, oh, hey, you want a donut? I'll say, no, I can't. I can't eat until after 2. So I can't have a donut at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning, because I can't eat until 2 o'clock. But upon reading this book, I started thinking about it. And so what she was saying in the book is that if you say you can't do something, it's restrictive. If you say you don't, it's a choice. So if I say I can't have that donut because I can't eat until after 2 p.m., that's very restrictive. And it almost feels like it's not within my control. But if I say no, I'm choosing to not have that donut because I don't eat until after 2, then that becomes a choice. So I think that's what kind of sparked this thought on the difference between a commitment and a challenge. So I feel like a challenge is more something that would be helpful if you're already doing something and you want to push the level of growth a little bit further than you would do a challenge. Whereas I feel like if you're trying to get back into something or start something new, that saying the word challenge to me feels like a little bit like already right from the beginning, I got to really push myself to achieve whatever it is. So in that example of the painting, somebody wanting to get back into painting, if they challenge themselves to do something, it's almost like if I push myself really hard, I can do this thing. And then I feel like what happens is it's not sustainable. So maybe you can push yourself for a little bit, but then it's going to kind of die off because it's consistently hard. And that's what, to me, that's what a challenge is always going to feel hard, because you're pushing yourself. So I kind of like the word commitment. So if somebody said, I'm going to make a commitment to myself to pick up painting again and to start painting again, and I'm going to do this by whether it's doing a little bit each day or doing a little bit each week. And I don't think, if your goal is to go from not doing it to doing it, to get back into this routine again, you don't have to finish a painting every week, right? If you're doing a challenge, maybe the challenge is to finish the painting every week. But if you're committing to yourself to get back into something that you've let go of but you enjoy and want to start doing again, if you make a commitment to yourself that I'm going to do a little bit each day or a little bit each week, depending on your circumstance, to me that feels more obtainable and less pressure. So like I said, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think there's a difference between how you word something and if you say something is a challenge? And the reason I'm thinking about this now is because it's very common at the beginning of the year, January, and the New Year's resolutions and everything, in that everybody wants to start doing all these challenges, and the challenges really do become very popular. I have a blog post on a 30-day challenge, and the traffic on that really shoots up in January. But I know, and like I said, I really wish I would have Googled what the statistics were on it, but it's really low, the people who follow through on New Year's resolution. I want to say it's like over 2 weeks or something. Like people don't stick with it past 2 weeks. But I feel like if you look at it a little bit differently and you look at it instead of I'm going to challenge myself to do this thing to I'm going to make a commitment to improve on an area and get started on creating these daily habits, to me, it just feels a little bit different to me. So let me know. This is a little bit of a rant and a little bit of a rambling, but I'm just curious if anybody feels that way, or do you disagree? It's okay to disagree with me. If you do, please share it in the comments. But what are your thoughts on challenges versus commitments? Or maybe there's a different word. Commitments just kind of been what's been on my mind recently for some of the things, some health goals I'm trying to get back into. And it's because I was doing really, really good at these things, and then I've kind of gotten away from it. So I'm trying to get back into these health habits that make me feel a little bit better each day. And I just really, it made me feel like, challenging yourself to do something feels a lot more difficult and a lot more of a stretch than making a commitment to yourself to just take that next step forward and to make progress. So, hey, let me know what you guys think. Post it in the comments. I like to hear from you. I hope everybody's doing great. If you're in a cold weather climate like I am, I hope you're staying warm. And I will talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend and happy creating.